I think this should work differently for banks, corporates, and individuals. Let's start with banks. I mean, I don't think banks themselves are directly exposed to, let's say, commodity risk. In fact, Indian banks are not even that much exposed to exchange rate risk, where we don't have banks with large foreign exchange denominated balance sheets and so on. Commodity risk comes through them, through their clients. So the only pretty much risk that they have to watch out for is really interest rate risk. Because a lot of them have large amounts of investment books which are all, if they're mark to market with rising interest rate, then they could lose value. And I think that they would keep an eye on. That's one of the reasons why, I mean, everybody in the system is worried about sudden spikes in interest rates. As long as there are gradual spikes, I think banks would still be able to manage. That's one risk banks will have to manage. The other risk banks will have to manage is that there is just no growth right now in the system. I mean, credit growth has been, I read somewhere in FY20, we grew at a rate which was comparable to what was 1962. So it is like a 60-year low on credit growth. Deposit growth has been now for last almost 8-9 years below 10%. To me, these are structural worrisome issues because if banks are not getting enough deposit and certainly are not lending, then what are they around for? So how do they get back to lending? Now, there is a demand supply issue there, which is there right now. There is no demand for credit. Certainly, there is no demand for credit from part of corporates, but also I think consumer credit will now slow down quite dramatically. And to match that, there is a tremendous level of risk aversion in banks, which means anything that is not absolutely risk-free or close to risk-free, the banks are not interested in pursuing. So I think as an economy, we have to get out of this bind because otherwise we can be very badly stuck in this. So it's not so much the commodity and the foreign exchange risk, it is these issues that I think would be risk. I think story in corporates would be different. For corporates, the immediate challenge would be to deal with just the loss of demand. I mean, if you roughly annualize it, loss of you haven't sold a single car in the month of April. I mean, you just say 2 months of no sale, it's like 16-17% straight down. Now, not that all sale will be down, some of them will be recouped and so on, but still it's a substantial, given that gross margins in many business are 10-12%, 12-15%. It's a pretty serious blow to revenue. And so for them, it would be really how do you deal with it, especially in the light of the fact that opening up might be quite slow. And they will have to, therefore, the impact it creates on their balance sheets, on their cost structures and so on and so forth. All that will have to be worked out. And that's where also a lot of policy action you will say. So I've been writing an article about this whole suspension of bankruptcy law and all this being talked about because a lot of companies might go on the verge of bankruptcy, would require restructuring and so on. When it comes to consumer, I think it's really dealing with, probably much more so for self-employed people, dealing with lowered and loss of income, that implications on their balance sheets, household balance sheets. Household balance sheets have leveraged quite rapidly in the last 4-5 years. So those are the things. And then again, what the long-term behavioral changes that you would see. So people's consumption patterns will change. There are a lot of what I call service consumption. So it's beauty parlors, movies, hair salons and spas, all manners of other collective entertainment. All these would for a while now not have too much of popular interest. So that's what will happen. Now, how much that translates into sort of NPAs for banks is a kind of an empirical question. It is unequivocal in my mind that there would be rise in NPAs for the banking and NPA for the banking system. So we'll have to deal with that. Let's ask ourselves, for the next foreseeable period, I will not do air travel unless I absolutely have to, which means on the margin, I'll try to avoid it. Secondly, I think one interesting outcome of the last 2 months has been that people are far more comfortable now with Zoom kind of approach. People who had probably never ever used the video conferencing before, older people and so on, so are just developing level of comfort that they say, why the heck do I have to travel? I sit on a government committee and we had a 4-hour meeting 2 days back, entirely on Zoom. And remember, these were all people some of them were from different parts of the government. And it went perfectly well. I felt no difference from normal in-person meeting. So once people develop comfort, then I think, so for example, air travel, I think would see a structural move away in demand for a while because bulk of the demand would be business and business would try to avoid it. So there are many such sectors where actually there will be undergoing underlying change in consumer behavior. There will be some sectors, FMCG for example, maybe durables, which will not be affected. I mean, people might defer consumption, but it would eventually come back. I mean, somebody has to buy a fridge, they have to buy a fridge sooner or later. There is no sort of replacement for that. And so I think, yes, there will be, my own sense is that all what I call service consumption would be one area where there will be a lot of change in customer behavior. And people will avoid as long as possible. I think in physical goods consumption, while there might be a temporary deferral and postponement of consumption, it would eventually pick up. I think it's a difficult. I don't know structurally whether we'll be difficult. I think different. I think what would happen is that we'll be on a transition path. I mean, so there is a lot of talk about demand. I mean, Chinese manufacturing moving to India and all. I don't know how much that will honestly happen. There are other parts in the world which are competing for that. But I think what will happen is that our path to recovery and to let's say if there's going to be a new normal, whether it's in FY23 or FY24, I don't know, because again, that will be decided by the virus. To me, there are two important preconditions. One, either we have a vaccine and/or we have a treatment. What I mean that, look, AIDS still does not have a vaccine, but it has a treatment. I mean, people know how to manage that disease. Normal flu has a vaccine as well as some treatment. So I think unless we have either one of these two, that is widely available, we would live under the terror of and will not return to normalcy. So therefore, I'm saying I don't know whether it's FY23 or FY24. So I think so it will be at least that long, and along the way we will figure out which aspects of our business have undergone permanent change and to what level and so on. If you look at, broadly speaking, breakup of service, manufacturing and agriculture, I don't see that actually fundamentally shifting, if that is what you mean by structural change. I mean, there will be 19-20 here and there, but I don't see major changes there. What will happen though is that, as you talked about a bit earlier, which is that individual sectors would have show very, very different trajectory. So my own view is that FMCG, durables, healthcare, all will recover fairly quickly. Whereas hospitality, hotels, airlines will actually take a longer time. I mean, then things like construction, real estate would probably fall somewhere in between. One example is like if work from home becomes more widely available and popular, which there could be a strong case for many businesses, that will put pressure on commercial real estate. People will suddenly discover why should they hire expensive offices if they can make this work. And so real estate will have sort of middling kind of thing. So that's the way I think this panning out in the next 2 to 3 years. I think all of us would be actually risking a guess if we try to be even more precise than that. Because today, honestly, there is just not enough to know how that will happen.